Welcome to How to Live Slow, the podcast where we discuss slow living for the modern woman and help you design an intentionally slower family life. I'm Rachelle Glendon, your personal slow living coach and host of this podcast. I know all about busy, but I love living slow. Enjoy the show. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of How to Live Slow. It's so great to have you here with me today. Today's episode is going to be answering the question, can I create a unicorn? And that unicorn has got to do with work-life balance and a project that I've called Project 4440. And the idea behind Project 4440 is, can I create a sustainable, ethical business that supports me financially and fulfills my desire to work with mums and support them through the process of, transitions into motherhood and slow living and all of those beautiful things that I've always talked about? Can I create something in school hours? So Project 4440 is working approximately 4 hours a day, 4 days a week for 40 weeks a year, which is the school terms here in Australia. We have 4 10-week terms. And I really believe that I'm in a really lucky position or a really privileged position to take the time to work this out. I want to know, is it possible for a mum to contribute and feel good about her contribution in the workplace as well as at home? Can you create this lifestyle where, the old saying, work like you don't have kids and be a mum like you don't work kind of thing? I've said that a lot of times. And I honestly didn't think that it was possible really to do both well up until pretty recently. This is kind of like, when I call it a unicorn, this idea of working 16 hours a week and creating somewhat of a full-time, income or living wage just seems so out of reach. But I think it's actually possible. And I feel like I'm in a position where I've got the opportunity to prove that it's possible in a sustainable way. And so I want to do it and I want to share it with you. I want to see how I can make this work. And if this piques your interest in any sense, then I'd say this episode is for you, because even if it doesn't look exactly this way for you, it might, challenge you to think about how could this work for you, or what elements of this method could you take and apply to your own life. And here's where I'm going with it, because there's a couple of caveats to it. Now, I'm coming off the back of this being that I'm the flexible parent. Now, the flexible parent in my definition of it is I'm the one, my husband, we have a trades business and my husband's work is very fluctuating. So he can be out of the house before 5 o'clock in the morning. He's away at the moment for a couple of nights, which is an uncommon thing. Sometimes he's home before school pickup, often he's not. So it can be a really tricky thing. If the kids are sick, I'm always, majority of the time, unless I'm also sick, I'm the one who's having time off, or, I take my day to look after the kids and they stay home with me. So that's why I'm the flexible parent, because I work hours that suit our family in terms of I do the admin and finances and all of that, the end of month and whatnot for my husband's business. And I do that around when I've had daycare or childcare and now school. And I've also had my podcast, my creative outlet, which I have been slowly building into some sort of financial business in the hours that I've had available. So that has meant often looked like late nights or things like that when the kids are in bed or whatever. So if you identify as being the flexible parent, whether or not you're working part-time or on some sort of flexible arrangement where you get to work from home, or you've got your own business and you still feel the pull of not sure if you want to be more available for the kids, or you want to maintain your availability for the kids while also building your income generating potential, then this is likely for you in some sense. Now, I'll also say that I have seen a lot of people talking about building a business within school hours. I know Kate Toon, for example, is currently writing a book, and I think it's called 6 Figures in School Hours, which is all about creating a 6-figure business whilst working in school hours and being available for the kids. Similar idea. Now, I'm not really one for the figures. I'm not really pushing that it needs to be a 6-figure business. I don't believe that the majority of us should put ourselves under that much pressure that we should be, targeting 6 figures. I would say that most of us, probably half of that would be a contribution to our family, particularly if you're already in the position of working part-time. as women, we know that going part-time, even if you're over like a qualified, educated, high-level employee previously, trying to do something in your vein, in your industry, part-time means that you're probably not able to get the level of, job that you had previously, or you're not able to get the promotions. So a lot of us are looking for ways of, creating almost that second economy. Where can we use our skills and experience to benefit and to earn us money that might be a little bit more than what we could get part-time being paid by an employer? So if you're resonating with that, then this is also for you, because I really think that the 6-figure target is too much pressure and actually not necessarily not achievable. I think over the long term it is, but if you're targeting that, then your decision-making process around what's possible may not be helpful. Because I also believe that being the flexible parent and having an income target is also only part of, the whole picture, because I'm guessing that you're also wanting to be present and you're not wanting your work-life balance to sort of flow more towards the work thing. Otherwise, what's the point of creating this? So we want to maintain a slower lifestyle where we have time for hobbies, rest, time with the kids, time, like I said, not working on holidays, and being really quite involved as much as we can with, like, maybe, I volunteer at the tuck shop, or you might want to do reading groups or whatever it might be, or maybe you've still got young kids and you've only got 1 or 2 days a week of daycare or childcare. So there's that. And then wanting to maintain that slower life in terms, I'm also quite a sensitive person. I used to think for a lot of years that, I'm not a good corporate employee. I'm a failure because I wasn't able to climb the corporate ladder. And I reflect and I think, well, I wasn't able to climb the corporate ladder partly because I didn't actually want to, and partly because, that's just not my constitution. I'm a different kind of employee or a different kind of worker. I also have done a lot of work in deconditioning about my worth being only in how much money I earn or how high up the ladder I can get. So I've done a lot of work around that and realized that actually what the value comes from is how I feel about the work I do, not about how high I can get up a corporate ladder. And, not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but there's more than one way of working. And for some, stepping outside of that corporate cycle and creating something else is the right way. We've got all sorts of people in the world, not just, there's creative industries as well, and there's care work industries as well. And there's also recognizing that we're so much more than just our job titles. And that's another part of this for me, is like, I want to work and do fulfilling work where I'm part of the business, and also I can honor my own seasons and cycles. So for example, I know that in summer I'm up earlier and I'm more creative in the morning. So I want to be able to, do my schedule so that I can be creative in the morning and do admin things in the afternoon. When it's hot, my brain's gone to jelly. But in winter, I'm the opposite. I love to be outside when it's sunny in winter. And then at nighttime, I go into my creative cave and I love to stay up later and sleep in more during the winter season. And I also want to be able to take time to rest during my own, menstrual cycle as well. And, flow with the energy fluctuations from month to month. And so to me, that's sort of all part of Project 4440. It's not just about the work. It's about who am I outside of all of that? Like, how can I expand my identity to be more than just what I do for work? So there's that, right? So I'm coming off the back of that's what I'm trying to create. And I say that because, I did mention about Kate Toon's book, and I think what she's doing is great, and it will be so valuable particularly if you're someone who is driven by dollar figures and wanting to create that higher level of wealth. Then there's also, I've seen this kind of concept. I know Brooke McAlary, she was from Slow Your Home podcast, and now she's changed the name of everything to The Tortoise. She even has in her bio saying that she only works school hours during school terms, so she may not be responding to emails or inquiries as quickly, particularly during those times. So it is there in the slow living lifestyle, world as well. But sadly, I also got an advertisement because obviously I've written a little bit about Project 4440 on Instagram. So I must have flagged the algorithm, and now I'm getting advertisements for, I think it was an ad from another business coach who was saying that the ad basically said, I earn $5 million a year and I work 5 hours a week. And I was like, okay, well, I do appreciate that. Maybe they have lots of courses, my guess is that they're probably training up other coaches to do the coaching for them. And that is a wonderful, method for some. That may be the way that people want to go. And I would say, well, if you're making $5 million a year and paying other people to do the coaching for you, there's a lot of expenses. So revenue doesn't necessarily equal profit, right? I don't want that for my business. I'm quite happy to earn much less than that and know that I'm the one doing the coaching, because that's why I'm starting my business. Like, I want to do the coaching. I want to be the one on the calls with my mums and my clients, one-on-one, getting to know them and helping them and supporting them in a really, intimate way. Like, I want to run small groups and, I want to be in my business. I am not interested, at least not at this stage, and I can't see ever being that way. I'm not interested in figuring out how to take myself out of the business, which is a big push for a lot of business coaches and a lot of online business, or even just any kind of business. It's like, figure out how to create a business that runs itself so you can step away from it. And that is a good thing to do from time to time. We did that with my husband's business. We were able to step away for 4 months. And I can say that is a really beneficial thing. But that works for our primary business. This is going to be, like I said, I'm the flexible parent. So I want to, if I'm going to do something where I'm taking time away from focusing on my family, I want it to be very fulfilling. And that includes, earning some money, but also includes primarily, working with the people who choose to be my clients. And yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. So I am going to share with you some really practical ways that I've set this up. But before I do, I want to just share one other thing. And I think it's really important, particularly if you're like, yes, I want that. I want that slower life. I really want to know if I can create a unicorn where I can work and earn, some money, and I can be the parent that I want to be, and I can be the flexible parent that I need to be for our family. And I can also live a slower life and have that rest and relaxation that I truly desire, or that time to spend on other things as well. Is that slow living does require a schedule. So in the show notes, there's a link to a document that I've created, which is called the Weekly Flow for Living Slow. And it's just basically a weekly calendar that shows you there's 5 different colored blocks. It's a time blocking calendar where I show you how I spend my time and how I've plotted in the hours that I work and the hours that I spend on family, the hours that I spend, you'll see there. And I'm going to go through that in a minute, but I just wanted to say that you do need a schedule. Slow living doesn't just happen when you get to the bottom of your to-do list. It's not just something that happens on a Sunday when you go, I'm just going to sleep in, or I haven't got anything this morning. It's a lifestyle that you integrate so that you are well-resourced and well-rested throughout the week, throughout your day, all of the time. It's not just a one-off when you need to recover from a hard day or from a stressful week. So with that said, let's move on to the practical things that I do to create this work-life schedule or flow. So I would say that from the top, actually my concentration levels and my ability to focus probably tops out at about 4 hours a day anyway. So I think that committing to 16 hours a day, 16 hours a week of work, if I know that I'm actually focused during that work time, I'm actually going to get probably a similar amount of work done as what I would have been able to get done working 40 hours a week. Particularly if you think about, let's think about some of the things that I'm not doing because I'm not working a full-time in a corporate job, for example. I'm not really attending meetings. It's just me in my business. I do have, 1 or 2 people helping me occasionally. I have my own coach and I have a VA who helps me edit the podcast. But apart from that, everything is me and it's just me. So that means I also don't have to stop and chat to coworkers, which is lovely sometimes, right? It's nice to have that social interaction. But I get plenty of social interaction from chatting, from my friends and family. I don't have a commute, which is also another thing that would, add to the weekly schedule. I don't have to factor in travel. And so I find that if I limit myself to that 16 hours, I can focus more in that time. So I work with my energy ebbs and flows. So sometimes I do admin in the morning, sometimes I do it in the afternoon, and always my creative output gets priority. So if I have the urge to write something or record a podcast on a particular topic or whatever, that is the thing that gets priority, apart from my client calls. So now I've listed a few things that I don't have to do, but here are the things that I do have to do in my business, just to give you a little bit of clarity around what it actually looks like. What are the things that I'm doing from a day-to-day point of view? So I have to do content creation. So that's, like I've said before, that's writing blogs and Substacks and Instagram and Facebook posts. It's writing show notes for the podcast. It's recording the podcast. I have to do client calls. So at the moment, I've only got 2 or 3 of those a week because I've just started back. But I anticipate that will probably increase over time, or hopefully increase over time. I have to do the admin and finance. Some of that is for my husband's business and some of it's for my own. That includes paying bills, reconciling bank accounts and all of that sort of stuff, paying wages and stuff. Then the other main thing that I have to do is keep on top of my reading. So if I'm going to have a guest on a podcast who's written a book, you can bet your bottom dollar that I've actually read the book and I've crafted a podcast episode based around what I know that person's knowledge is, so that I can ask them the right questions and that sort of thing. And also, reading to keep up my own skills. I do a little bit of extra training and learning. So all of that's kind of factored in as well. And I kind of assume that as my client books fill up, that I'll have to squeeze some of that learning time might come out and then become like evening, reading books of a night time. Currently, I'm reading fiction at night. I don't really watch a lot of TV. So reading for me is kind of my main pastime when I'm having chill out time. So I can do my reading at other hours when my work hours are being eaten up by more and more client calls. And that's a good thing, right? That shows that my business is working and it's building and it's growing. So awesome. So I'm quite happy to refine these processes over time. Like I've had to work on some of my own good habits. Like when I have an idea, I'll capture it so that I can come back to it if I need to. Like if I've got a client call, but I'm like, I need to write, this is what I want to write. I can take brief notes and flesh it out later. I can set up some more automation so that it's not me writing an email every time someone's got an appointment, that sort of thing. So if you have a look at that document that I've included in the show notes, you can sort of see there that there's 5 main blocks. So I've kind of color-coded them. So I've starts at 6 in the morning, and then you can sort of see the mornings during the week are all pink. That's I've noted that down as family time. So that's from 6 till 9 when I drop the kids off at school. Family time for me is playing with the kids, helping them get ready, doing any homework, like spending quality time with them, which, if you've heard me talk about my routines to rituals, you'll know that my approach is as much as I can be, even though we're doing the morning routine, we're making it like family time, because I really believe that can be the quality time rather than setting aside specific quality time. You can get your quality time by just having a nice kind of flow to your mornings or whatever. So I've just blocked all of that out. It's just family time. If I get up earlier and I've got something to write, I'll do that. But yeah. So family time is that. We also have some dedicated family time of a Sunday because we like to get home and be home to get set up for the week ahead by 3 p.m. So I kind of block that out as like that's dedicated family time. I also have a little chunk on a Friday morning where I volunteer for Tuck Shop. So that's, I've put that as family time because I feel like, I'm contributing to the kids. They love to see me there and all of that sort of thing. Then I've got personal time, which is the green. So that's where I do things like exercise, I read, or I might have, beauty appointments, like if I get my hair done or things like that, go to Pilates, those sort of things. That's all green. So that's the time for me. Then yellow is my work hours. So you'll see on the calendar that I've got work hours on Monday through to Thursday. I've also got, that's all during the day. So it's 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours, which adds up to the 16. And that's, I'll probably take a lunch break in there. So that's probably not fully the 16. I also have my weekly call with my own coach on a Tuesday night, which is blocked out as yellow. And importantly, now this is a big one. On Sundays, I take an hour, not even an hour, it's probably only half an hour, and I sit down and I do a bit of admin. So I set myself up for the week ahead. And that involves me checking all my emails so I don't have to do it on Monday. I check all my emails, I write any to-do lists, my goals for the week are like, all my things that I need to do on each set day, any appointments I've got, bills that need to be paid. I check with my husband and see what he's got for the week ahead, and we process like, okay, who needs to be here and there and what's going on. So we kind of have this like little life admin moment, and that works really well because it means that I'm not getting to work on Monday and thinking I'll just do my emails for the rest of the day, because it can really, Parkinson's law, I can end up using up the whole day just to do that one task, which only takes me half an hour on a Sunday because I want to get it done. Then I've got orange is my home hours. So that is when I do, like, you can see the main time that I've got home hours is between 3 and 6 p.m. So that's picking the kids up from school. It's doing all the washing and the cleaning, groceries, cooking, anything like that, all of the houseworky things. But it can also include a bit of family time. So technically speaking, they should be half orange and half pink for the family part. But you can sort of get the idea. That's when I do. Mornings is not for doing housework. Afternoons, while the kids are doing their iPad, I might be chopping up and getting dinner ready. The kids are doing homework or whatever it is, or they're outside playing on the trampoline. They kind of entertain themselves majority of the time. They might have after-school sports and that sort of thing. So that's a different vibe in terms of what's going on. So that's the orange. And then the white is flexible. So you can see mainly that means that it's Friday night, Saturday and Sunday is our flexible time. So that's for birthday parties or weekends away, movie nights, that sort of thing. So we can, it might be a big day in the garden if we're working on a gardening project. It might be a day at the beach or whatever. It's like sleep in or exercise or whatever we want to do. And that's where we get our sort of slower life from. This is the flow that works for me. You can sort of see there that you wouldn't really be able to fit in much more work. I could maybe get another probably 6 hours added in without having to add in extra childcare or extra arrangements to make it possible. But to be honest, I know in the past that it's potential for me to become a bit of a workaholic. So I have to really, for me, this is all about boundaries. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I set work hours so that I don't overwork. And the purpose of having this flow is that I then also don't procrastinate. So I know that if I notice and I get home from dropping the kids off at school and I want to sit down at my desk, I know that if I see some laundry that needs to be done, I could easily distract myself by doing housework when I should be working. But I know actually on my diary that I have allocated time where that will happen. Almost all tasks, so this is just a weekly flow kind of thing, it's just a top level. If you drill down into each of the colors, you can see that most tasks and most things that you need to do for your week to get your life flowing are held within one of those 5 categories. So if you drill down, you can see, okay, that's when I've allocated time for housework. That's when I've allocated time for exercise or social time or whatever it might be. So this is really about boundaries and being really firm with myself to help myself become someone who does what they say they're going to do. Because I could easily go into workaholic mode and never, do anything else. But I could also equally go into not working and distract myself and procrastinate through the work hours and clean or head up to the shops and just do, suddenly 4 hours is gone and I've done nothing about work. Because also, as if you're building a creative-based business or a service-based business in this sense that I'm doing, it's so easy to get stuck in resistance and not take action on the things that you want to do and achieve in your work. And when the amount of money you can earn is solely reliant on your sales efforts and your ability to, serve your clients and all of that stuff, it's very easy to get stuck in the mode of like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or, almost like fear of success in a sense. Like, who do I have to become to be able to achieve these goals? So this is very much a different way of working. So definitely the boundaries to keep myself on task, but to also stop myself from overwork as well. It's a really important thing. And so I've spent a lot of years like reconditioning myself from productivity culture, the guilt of being a sensitive person who needs a slower life to maintain a sense of well-being. Like I do need a lot of rest and a lot of downtime. And I do have sensory things where I can't handle a lot of loud noises or big spaces or crowds or things. Like I love that stuff, but I can't do it all the time. Whereas my husband's sort of like, maybe you should get a job where you can have some co-workers and you get social interaction. It'll be really good for you. And I'm actually like, no, I'm fine. I'm quite happy spending most of my time by myself because I get enough social stuff from other sources. So, and the other thing is like, this gives me the ability to choose how and when I spend my time and how much I work. And for me, that's the ultimate feeling of wealth is it's not necessarily about how much money I can earn. And I've said that, I've gone on a lot about that, but it's actually a lot to do with the fact that I get to decide about my time. And time is the main resource. Like, because I think we forget, like, we have more than just money as a resource. We have our energy, our time, our capacity, our focus. So that is my project 4440. And yeah, can I create a unicorn? I believe it's possible. I really want to sort of show how it's possible and show that you can do it, and that it doesn't need to be the pressure to earn multiple six figures or even six figures. Like, it can just be replacing your part-time income and giving you that extra flexibility as well. So I hope this episode has been useful to you in some way. Project 4440. Cool idea? I don't know. I hope you think so. Yeah, I'm excited to sort of share how it all goes throughout the rest of the year. And I love that I'm approaching it from it's an experiment kind of thing. This is just a project. I'm going to see if it's possible. If it's not, we'll do the next thing. We'll try something else. It's okay if it doesn't work, but I'm sure that it will, because I know that there are lots of examples of people who are doing similar things. So yes, if this has resonated with you, if you love this episode, I would love for you to subscribe. Stick around, and if you are interested in looking at that weekly flow, there's a link in the description in the show notes for this episode. And if you'd like to take things a little bit further and create your own Project 4440, obviously I am available for coaching. I have a couple of packages now available, and I would love to support you in creating a slower life that actually has work-life balance at its core. I do believe that work-life balance is not a myth. It is possible. Our bodies are always craving homeostasis, so we are always trying to come back to balance, and I do believe that it is possible. So yeah, I'd love to chat with you more if that is something that's interesting to you. You can find out all the details in the show notes. All right, I will see you next week. And next week we are going to be talking about how to be generous, generosity is my word of focus for the year. So I'll be exploring what it means to be generous. Can't wait, and I'll see you there. All right, take care. Have an amazing week. Bye. That's it for another episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to connect further, the show notes from today's episode, including all the social links and free resources, are over on my website, howtoliveslow.com/podcast. Have a beautiful week ahead, and I'll speak with you again soon.